Who would have seen that coming? Southampton beat Chelsea 1-0. What a result. Ruben Salas, the GOAT, the Spanish king, the next Pep Guardiola. We won't get too carried away, but definitely a very different performance than we've seen for a very long time. It reminded me of under Ralph, which obviously Salas talked about in his interviews, saying that he has worked closely under Ralph, and he sort of identified as that as the system that the players would benefit from the most. Nathan Jones went no to that, even though we all were screaming at him to play a similar system, right? So Ruben Salas looks to be a man who really took after Ralph and played a very similar way, similar players, and I think that's the sort of team we would have seen if Ralph got his big man up front. Because Paul was instrumental in the build-up play. I thought he was excellent against. Who did he play against? Brentford. I thought he was a bit isolated, a bit average. Same against Wolves. But this game, he really took it by the scruff of the neck, and he gave us a lot of options going forward. And surprisingly enough, for a big man, his touches were pretty clean. He was plucking it out the air like a young Lionel Messi. But about Chelsea, obviously I've said in the preview, I'm a big fan of Potter, right? At the end of the day, as much as you want to give managers time, there is a minimum requirement, right? And obviously a team like Chelsea, compare that to a Brighton where it's come from, you can have a sort of bad-ish season at a Brighton or whatnot, and it'd be fine, right? It's sort of like, okay, next season, this is the season. But when it comes to a team like Chelsea, it's sort of like, what is he, 2 wins in 14 or 15 or something like that? That's quite awful, and especially the investment that's come in, and obviously that creates its own problems of sort of, heaps of players plucked from different leagues, big price tags, big pressure on them, right? And obviously trying to put it all into a starting 11, same with the players come back from injury, obviously new manager, new tactics, blah, blah. It is a little bit of a mess, but then you got to think, okay, it could be a mess, but this is getting a little bit ridiculous. Obviously, I'm a bit advocator for giving managers time, especially when they have the sort of pedigree behind them where they've proved that, in 2-3 years they can create quite an exquisite team. But then when it comes to Chelsea, obviously there's different standards. Success is a requirement. And obviously this season, if they finish 6th or 7th or something like that, it's like, okay, that's acceptable. Next season they push. But it's not looking like that might even happen. So obviously, it'd be interesting to see what Chelsea do. I'm pretty sure Todd Bowie or whatever his name is a big fan of Potter, and I don't think he's going to sack him. But then you've got to think, in my personal opinion, if Roman Abramovich was still in charge of Chelsea, he would have never hired Potter. He would have hired someone with a lot more pedigree. And that's the difference, I think. I think they're trying to really build for the future, which is obvious by the signings they're making. But then at the same time, it's like, you must have immense trust in Potter that in 2 years' time or even next season, he will improve them to a point where they can compete for trophies. So at the end of the day, we don't see what's behind the closed doors. We don't know what exactly is going on with Chelsea and Graham Potter, but it's the same with Southampton. We were a bit of a mess, but Ruben Salas doing what Ruben Salas does, the GOAT, sets up a team that's logical. Obviously a few players you look at, oh God, Bednarak and Elanusi and whatnot. Elanusi did nothing as usual, but that's sort of expected at this point. Bednarak obviously had a decent game, but when it comes to, I feel like it was a good team performance. I felt Lavia had a really good game. I think Bazunu probably had his best game under Southampton. And there was someone else, and Big Paul, obviously, I thought he had a great game as well. And obviously James Ward-Prowse scoring the goal, he's going to take the plaudits. But I do think Lavia really ran the show brilliantly. And that's what he can do. When Jones was criticising him, it just makes no sense when he is the player to link the attack and defence. He is the guy to be able to bring it out, to dribble out, to pass it out. And he did that well. But yeah, I would say it was a solid team performance, very digged in performance. It felt like everyone really gave a shit, right? When you see teams that are struggling and teams at bottom, you're going, oh, he's not really trying, oh, he's fucking around, he's doing that. But it felt like everyone on the pitch, surprising enough, players like Maitland-Niles who are very, very lacked of motivation, right? I feel like it's very easy to demotivate them to play, those sort of players. And even he was celebrating things, he was getting in there. And that actually fills me with a lot of hope. The fact that Ruben Sellers, after 3-4 days, can make them really motivated and they played with confidence to push forward, that's impressive, right? It is very, very impressive. So I'm a bit excited to see what we could do. Obviously, a massive game against Leeds, so it's going to be difficult, obviously, to go back-to-back. I mean, I don't even know the last time we went back-to-back. So that's obviously the challenge for Sellers. But, I mean, I love him. I love him already. The fact that he's come out and said, I want the job, I'm going to get the job, I'm going to work my hardest, we're going to win games, blah, blah, blah. That's the sort of shit you want to hear from a caretaker manager. Because if you have a caretaker manager and he's like, I don't really care, can they hire someone, blah, blah. It's sort of like, what confidence, what motivation does that give to the players? None. But then a manager that's come in, or a coach, I guess, who's now a manager, coming in, being a coach, stuff like players responded well to his coaching and stuff previously under other managers. And then for him to come out and say, like, I want the job, and then the players could be like, okay, he's gonna put the effort in, he's gonna look at the details, right? And I think that's a good thing for us. Obviously, because you're looking at the managers out there, there's like Steven Gerrard and stuff, and it's like, please God, no. But honestly, what a performance, what a result. Honestly, didn't expect anything like that. That Chelsea side was nothing like the Chelsea side I saw it against Dortmund. I don't particularly watch many Premier League games that doesn't involve Southampton for obvious reasons, as they're all at 3 a.m. for me. But obviously the Champions League games are at 9 a.m. or whatever, so I do normally watch them. And that Dortmund game, they were extremely good. It was just, little issues, right? Just being a bit more clinical. I mean, Felix had about 3 chances, great saves and whatnot. And then that's what I was speaking against Southampton. We're not very good, right? We're not very good defensively. We're not very well structured, even though we very were. Okay, I can't function. We were very structured, surprisingly enough, because we haven't been structured in so long. And I think that surprised Chelsea. But then at the end of the day, I mean, the wealth of talent they have, they should have at least created more. Obviously, we had a little bit of luck go away with the goal line clearances, but at the end of the day, those are probably the only chances Chelsea really made. And you'd expect with the wealth of talent they have and the ability they have to create more. So I was a little bit surprised. I did predict a very negative result for Southampton, but you can't blame me for that. I mean, team's been a mess. Even if I thought Sellers might do well, I didn't think he'd do this well early on. But yeah, the thing about Sellers that really gets me pumped is the videos that came out after. The fact the players are pushing him, they're like, you take the credit, you take the credit. It really makes me feel like they really respect him as not just probably a coach and a manager, but as a person. And obviously I feel like that's reciprocated by him to the players. Coming out into the conferences, praising the players, praising them for their work rate and how hard they tried and all this sort of stuff. That's what was lacking with Jones. When you're listening to Jones's press conferences, it's sort of like it's as if like if you were a player, you'd think fucking idiot. If you're a fan, you think fucking idiot. But Sells really comes across as a humble, honest, good guy, really, which is exactly what we sort of needed in the period that we're struggling with. But yeah, what a result. Obviously, it's a big plus. Hopefully this gives us the sort of confidence, the boost that we need. The new manager bounce may actually happen, I guess. But yeah, second clean sheet of the season, already tied with Jones's points tally after 1 game compared to Jones's 9. I mean, that's pretty satisfying, isn't it? But big game against Leeds, obviously, that's enormous. 6-pointer. But obviously, if we win that, we're out of relegation. Obviously, it's long time to go. We could lose the next 3 games and then still have a chance of staying up, right? And obviously, if we win the next 3 games, we still have a chance of going down. It's very close at the bottom of the table. It always is. A couple wins can shoot up the table, and a couple losses can shoot you down the table. So we just got to keep pushing every single game. Every point matters. Whether we get draws or wins, it doesn't really matter. We just got to get points no matter what. We cannot lose. We just got to keep the momentum and push. And hopefully Sal is the guy to do that, because I don't see us signing any other manager who would be able to have an impact at all. But yeah, that's the video. Fucking great result. For once, waking up at 3:30 in the morning to watch that shit actually was worth it. It's been a while since I've said that. But I hope you boys enjoyed the result. Maybe not Chelsea fans, I guess. But Saints boys and whatnot. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe if you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time.